Welcome back to the neighborhood, boys and girls. Our first guest of the night is John ZLoza from EXP. John, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I saw your announcement of your move on Facebook, and I was like, I want to talk to John and see what's going on because so many people are moving and shaking. But before we do that, we really have a tradition here on the show. We love to hear people's stories pre-real estate because everyone's always got an awesome journey. Most people are like, no one says I graduated high school and couldn't wait to be a realtor, except for last week. We did have one person where I said that and he's like, actually I did. I'm like, damn it. So I can't say that anymore. But most people are like, I was working at this restaurant and my uncle's cousin's brother was a real estate agent, blah blah blah. So tell us a little bit about your story. And I know you're not a Philly guy, you're in the Philly metro area now, so I'm sure your story's going to have a bunch of twists and turns. So how'd you get here?
A lot of different ways. A lot of different roads led to real estate. I was born in Poland.
Okay.
My family immigrated when I was 8 months old.
Okay.
So I was a baby, and they moved to Chicago, which has a huge Polish population over there. So I grew up in Chicago, lived in Cleveland for a little bit, but all my life I wanted to be in business. It seems like everybody I knew that was successful was a quote-unquote businessman.
Business person, yes.
I didn't know what that actually meant, but I wanted to be in business. College took me a different road because back in the day I saw Top Gun and wanted to get into aviation. So
the windy road, man.
So I looked into it, and it was impossible or expensive to get a pilot's license. So I went to school to become an airplane mechanic.
Okay.
Finished school, got my degree as an airplane mechanic. Realized that at that time I just got married while in college. I was 20 years old with a baby on the way. There's no jobs available at the time. All the baby boomers are happy working, and I can work at an engine shop, making $10 an hour, or find a different career, which I looked for a different career. Right out of college, I worked for GMAC, auditing car dealers, repoing cars. You would shift back and forth. Got into retail sales, and because of the car background, me and my buddies opened up a car dealership when I was like 24.
Okay.
Then you find out why people tell you don't get into business with family and friends. So after 3 years...
Who stole money from you?
It seemed like I committed more of my time and money than the others were willing to. And when we stopped making money, a lot of finger pointing, and that's when I said, I'm out.
Yeah.
Took a job where I was operations manager. We used to clean the airplanes for Continental Airlines. I ran that operation out of Chicago O'Hare. They moved me to Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland was a good time, but then moved back to Chicago and ended up in the car business, back in the car business. I sold cars. In between there, I would renovate homes. Had a cousin where I would sell all his jobs. So I was always in some kind of sales gig.
Sure.
Tried a little carpentry, and a buddy of mine said, you know what? You're an okay carpenter, but you're a much better salesman. Go back to sales. So I did the car sales thing forever. Always wanted to get into real estate because a bunch of my friends were realtors. But I was afraid to. Because with the car business, you just sat there, people would come to you, then you fight over them in the parking lot, with the other salesmen.
Whose up was it? Who told me you skated my customer?
Exactly right. But people came to you. I didn't have to find the clients on it. Then when the economy crashed in '08, my income did too. It dropped by over 60%. So I was just hanging on, was almost on the verge of moving back in with my parents, owned the condo. It's when I met my second wife, who was my girlfriend. She moved in, and the conversation was, well, if you're going to be broke, do what you want to do and be broke, not what you hate.
I like that.
I got my real estate license.
Nice.
And jumped into real estate probably as the market was crashing and still going down in 2010. And in Chicago, at least, a lot of landlords use realtors for rent their places. A lot more than out here. Everybody used a realtor. So did a ton of rentals, BPOs, anything to survive and learn the business. That's how I ended up in real estate.
Nice. And when did you move from Chicago to the Philly region?
Late, actually, 2014.
Okay.
So we're about to hit 10 years in a couple months
Nice.
here. Yeah.
So you've seen a little bit of the renaissance of Philly because
Yeah.
2008 Philly wasn't what it is now. You know, it's all over, all the different little neighborhoods. Even they split up Kensington into two different places now. It's East Kensington and West Kensington.
Yeah. South Kensington.
You gotta make sure that which one you're talking about, because if you tell somebody you have a place in, you know, Bridesburg and you really mean Kensington, the people get a little upset when you miss neighborhood identify.
Everything's called Fishtown.
Yeah, well, we had an office in Fishtown, and people would say, "Oh, my friend lives over in Fishtown." Like, where do they live? And they tell me, I'm like, "That's not Fishtown. What are you talking about? Fishtown's like 3 square blocks. You know what I mean?
It's
Right
old
off
Richmond,
Frankfurt,
is this, is that,
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, no, when we moved out here, it's actually, my wife's from out here.
Okay.
So we got married in 2011, and we had the wedding here in Philly.
Okay.
So it was actually Northern Liberties, which Northern Liberties wasn't what it is now.
No.
In 2011, you could see it was changing. It was the Chescafe wedding group on that. It was right there in Northern Liberties. We had our wedding. A bunch of my buddies came to it, and they're like, "Okay, when are you moving to Philly?" I said, "There's not a chance I'm ever moving to Philly." Well, 2 years later, I'm moving to Philly.
Moving to Philly, right. So now that you're here, you're supplanted from another area, which is a really great business model for a lot of people that are watching that aren't established realtors. How did you generate business? You're a Polish American, Chicago accent, all these things. You got to come in and you got to hunt. You got to make money. You got to find people. What are some of the techniques that you've used to establish a brand and to bring customers in?
Well, a couple things was I'm very handy. Like, I tried construction. I'm not a professional, but I flipped a couple homes on that.
Okay.
So I do have some knowledge. So that translates when I meet people to talk about construction, how well something's been made, because when all these flipped properties, there's a lot of poorly done stuff.
Sure.
So that gives me a little foot in the door with it. But the big things to get a client was working my SOI, which is basically my mother-in-law's SOI.
Sure.
The family, because I was the only realtor in the family. So we're helping them out. But the big thing is open houses. When you didn't have a lot of money, but you wanted to meet people, was open houses. I would do 3 a week minimum, like a Thursday and a Friday, Saturday and Sunday, weekend, week out. And so I build up more buyers, which have turned into repeat clients over the years and
now,
referrals.
You would go to an agent in the office and say, "Hey, you have a listing at 1444 Frankfurt. Can I do an open house there?" Is that what you would
that's exactly
it?
Okay. Or kind of cherry pick, look what's coming up, what's on a good street, nice price point, and go to those agents and let me host it. And if the weekend was full, I would do it on a Friday.
Sure. Yeah, and most times people don't do it enough, but agents don't care. Of course they want their property sold. If you ask them if you can do an open house for them, I rarely think anyone's going to say no. You know what I mean? Like they want to get the property sold.
Especially new construction.
Sure.
That's empty and everything else, and they look like a rock star to their client, to their seller, that they're doing all this additional marketing. But that was probably one of my top sources. That and the dreaded Zillow. I used to pay for some of those buyer leads. I've washed my hands clean of that for the last 4 or 5 years.
It's a totally different market than it was then. Like, I've been buying leads forever, and leads now are completely, at least before, people were somewhat interested in it. Now they sell it to 17 different people. They got automated dialers. They got all these things. If you don't call that lead within like a minute, you're never going to talk to that person. You just flushed $40 down the toilet. It's crazy now. It's harder. In some ways, I think it's harder to get business, but in other ways, I think it's easier to get business. You know, there's a lot of different things. Social media is free. You know, like that's how I got introduced to you. You know, and if you told people 25 years ago that you could reach 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people at a time for free just with constant work and dedication, they would think you're
crazy.
You're crazy. Yeah, you're lying. You're trying to sell me something. So what types of social media do you use? Are you strictly Facebook, or do you expand to other things?
More or less just Facebook.
Okay.
I've got enough going on that it's too many distractions, and quote unquote, every expert you follow, they say you should master at least one.
Yeah.
Instead of doing 10 things poorly, do one well.
Yeah.
So I've been doing more Facebook, getting more comfortable doing reels and video versus just posts on it.
Sure.
Some take off, some don't.
Yeah. Have you generated business from the reels part of things, from the video stuff? I do content. I do a lot of different stuff. I suck at TikTok. I really don't understand Instagram. I mean, I know what it is. I know how to get it, but I'm not great. For some reason, I've been doing Facebook for, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years, whatever it is. I get a ton of traction on Facebook, and I listen to the people, and they're like, oh, well, you got to do this, this, and this. And you have Hootsuite and all these different sites where you just put it one place, and it puts it to 50. But I seem to have more luck on Facebook. I don't know if it's my age or...
Well, at least the way I view it, it's that quote-unquote client I'm looking for, or my avatar client. Mm-hmm. And truth be told, getting old.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not helping 20-something first-time buyers. I have a number of first-time buyer clients. But like my avatar has become these 50, 60-year-olds that empty nesters, either downsizing, so helping them sell that big house, find like a smaller condo, townhome, and that older demographic, I think, is still using more Facebook.
Sure.
Versus... some of the other socials like Snapchat. I have no clue what that's about, and don't even want to learn it.
No, I have never, not a Snapchat person. I do have a TikTok. I don't understand TikTok. I watch a little bit of it. I have not my daughter, 17-year-old daughter, does some stuff for me, and then my other daughter helps me out a little bit with the content stuff, but I don't get that at all, you know.
No, I get that. I mean, luckily I do have admin assistant that's been helping a lot. She's in her early mid-20s, so a lot of stuff that I don't want to learn or I'm not hip enough to know. Right. Please handle it.
So now let's talk a little bit about your change. You went over to EXP.
Yeah.
You know, not that there's anything wrong with them. They're kind of the new hip thing. They're the fresh face on the block. Yeah. They're a new company, very technology oriented. What were some of the things that influenced your decision, and what kind of pushed you that way?
It was probably the most difficult decision I ever made.
Sure.
Where I was at, I was happy. I was making money. Great office and everything else. But like anything, if you're doing pretty well, everybody's recruiting you. Mm-hmm. And I spent, I don't know, every day at least one or two hang-ups. I'm not interested. Well, EXP's been recruiting me for over a year. I finally said, let me see what they're about. Mm-hmm. What do they have to offer? Because every top company right now is a technology company.
Sure.
They're not a real estate company, they're a technology company. But then you dive into it, where I was before. Their CRM. They touted, but it wasn't that great. It was okay. Mm-hmm. I tried paying for one, didn't love that either. Then I was recruited by another competitor, Compass. They used to offer agents a ton of money to come over.
Sure.
They stopped doing that because they were losing out. So I looked into EXP and their tech, because instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, they either buy it or borrow it.
Sure.
They use KV Core for their CRM, which I was blown away by the way it works, what it offers. So the technology is awesome. Mm-hmm. Because of COVID, I got used to working from home. So having a quote-unquote virtual office, not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Because a lot of these brokerages you go into, maybe 5% of the agents come in anyway.
Sure.
So
COVID killed all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not a ton of people.
And then, like everybody, you start looking to what else do they offer, because like any agents, we have splits. And you look at the splits and everything else, and you're like, what am I getting for it? Mm-hmm. Well, with EXP, the education was great. Mm-hmm. Technology's awesome. And if I hit the same milestones that I did as my previous brokerage, I get company stock. So there's retirement plans now. Mm-hmm. If I get agents to join me, there's passive revenue there. So there was a lot of pluses that made me pull the trigger and move forward.
They also have really good health benefits.
Yeah. Luckily, I've been blessed that my wife has a great
Okay.
health plan, but they're one of the few brokerages
That's
that
one of the
offers
ones I
it.
hear all the time. They're like, wow, they got this Clearview or whatever. I forget the
Yeah.
name of the company that they've aligned with.
They've
that
got like
does it.
90,000 agents.
Right.
I mean, they started around 2009, but from my understanding, it's the last 7-8 years
Yeah.
that they went from like 20, 30 agents to 90. They're right behind the other players.
Nice,
So,
nice. All right, so now we did past, we did present. Let's talk a little bit about future, because every entrepreneur, every
Yeah.
salesperson's got some goals. What are some things that are on your bucket list, on your vision board? Push us to August, September 2025. What are some things you're going to accomplish? What are some things you have on your goal list?
I've been fortunate. A lot of leads coming in. I've been really busy, even though in this down market, working harder than ever. But looking to grow a team. I've always been that solo guy with the admin, but I'm turning away business. So I'm
Yeah.
looking to grow a team, get a buyer's agent, and expand from there. And because of EXP's business model, get people in my downline, recruit other agents to show them like why I left and join, and if they come along, you get paid for that.
Sure, sure.
And there's guys towards the top that are making great passive income where they're not selling real estate
Sure.
anymore. So I would love to get to the point in 2 years that I've got a team, I've got good passive income, that I can go to our beach house for the whole summer.
Right.
And not have to hustle looking for clients every day of the week.
Yeah.
And spend more time with the kids traveling because I got a 9 and 11-year-old.
Okay. So that leads into the one of the final questions that we have. What do you do to keep your peace? Like, this is a crazy world, a crazy business. There's a lot of stress that's going on. What do you do to keep your head calm? Like hobbies, professions, meditating, boxing, whatever. What do you do to keep yourself calm?
I mean, I do spend a lot of time with my kids. I love that. Make sure I'm home every evening. Found out my blood pressure was a little high this past year when you get to a certain age and get out of shape. So I've really started working out, try to go 5-6 times a week in the morning. So it's a matter of working out early in the morning, and I make sure to go into a sauna for 25 to 30 minutes
Love it.
every day. And I think that sauna is really where you meditate, sweat all the bad energy out, and it's helped a ton with the blood pressure too.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my number one thing far as just staying sane.
Nice, nice. All right, last question. I'm going music with you because I don't know anything about your sports background, so I'm going music. You could pick any band, present, past, future, alive, dead, whatever. They're coming to your house on Friday night and they're going to play 2 songs. What's the band that you would pick, and what do you think 2 songs would be?
I am the worst when it comes to music. Bands, it's going to be either Motley Crue or Bon Jovi.
Okay.
It takes me back to the days of the mullets and Camaros and everything else.
Love it.
Which my kids make fun of me, but...
Did you have a mullet?
Yeah, I did.
Dude, I had a mullet. I rocked a mullet. I was at the Phillies game the other night, and this little kid was the national mullet champion. I'm like,
see him all over.
How do I know that? I never knew there was a mullet champion.
My mom would perm my mullet, so it'd be curly too back in the day in high school.
Sweet.
Yes.
I'm gonna scour your Facebook. Do you have pictures
No,
of you don't have
there's
any
no
mullet
evidence.
pictures? Oh man.
There was no Facebook back then, 30-something years ago.
Yeah, man, you got pictures. Come on, you gotta put them up. John, thank you so much for coming by.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with the next guest on Mr. Mortgage's Neighborhood.